Well, our greatest ally is at it again, guys. That's right. Israel just bombed Syria. We're going to be getting into that and so much more. We have a lot to talk about with Epstein. We have a great interview between Elijah and, of course, Dinesh D'Souza. So stay tuned for that because they don't exactly agree on the Epstein situation. He's obviously defending it. So it'll be good to get his take on everything. Obviously, I'm not Elijah. Spoiler alert. I will be filling in. And so stay tuned for the rest of the show, guys. And welcome to The Rift. I'm Anna Perez filling in for Elijah Schaefer. I am a Rift TV contributor, so we have a great show for you guys. As we just mentioned, yes, Israel bombed Syria, and I guess they just cannot stop attacking other countries. Their bloodthirst is out of control. And, it's interesting because I feel like this admin's kind of vacillating back and forth on that. They keep telling us, rather, that they want to put an end to the war, and yet they keep taking Israel's side. So we have a lot to talk about there, and with the Epstein files and so much more. I am joined by, of course, the Braeden Sorbo and Sarah Stock, of course. So guys, talk a little bit about where people can find you and why you're here.
All right, my name is Braeden Sorbo. We are officially back. Author of Embrace Masculinity, contributor for The Rift, and here to have a good time. Filling Elijah. There's some joke to be made there, but it'd be a little too inappropriate for YouTube. Thank you, Mike.
Yeah, and I'm Sarah Stock. You can find me on my socials, on X or on Instagram, just Sarah C. Stock. I'm a contributor here at Rift, and very excited that we have something to talk about other than just Epstein tonight, even though we will be talking about that. But, I am interested to talk with the whole Israel situation as well. And yeah, also subscribe to my YouTube channel, by the way, because me and Braeden did a great collab at Turning Point. We were interviewing some of the attendees there and asking them questions, about some controversial topics, repealing the 19th, support for Israel, some different things like that. So fun video out on my YouTube channel. Both me and Braeden shared it on our socials, so definitely check that out.
Yeah, and Sarah, why are you here?
Why am I here? Well, the other days this week I said I was here because I had to be here because it's my job and I'm paid to. And then I was told I need to be grateful and, and act like I'm so happy. No, but I actually am happy to be here. Love coming on the show. And yeah, I like talking about what's going on in the world. So that's why I'm here.
Well, good, because we definitely have a lot to talk about, starting with, of course, Israel. Because, like I said, they just can't stop. They can't stop bombing, okay? And that's exactly what they did. They just bombed Syria. And I want to start by, of course, talking about what Secretary of State Marco Rubio said, because, we all knew when Marco Rubio was appointed to this position, I think, that this was not going to go the way we were hoping. And, of course, the way we're hoping is we want peace, okay? We don't, and more than peace, we don't want the United States involved in these wars. That's kind of just a basic America First tenet. I don't think most people would disagree with that, who actually believe in America First. Of course, the boomers who think they believe in it and they think that means defending Israel would disagree. But in any case, I want to go ahead and go to what Marco Rubio said. So let's go to that, Mike, because I think, that's an important one. He said, we are very concerned about Israel's strikes in Syria. We are talking with both sides, all relevant parties, and want the fighting to stop. So my question is,
how are we going to get the fighting to stop?
Yeah, right. Okay. If you want the fighting to stop,
that's really hard.
Why did you keep taking Israel's side? Why was it from day one in President Trump's campaign that he was going to take the side of Israel, that he was going to be all in for the Jews, he was going to take all this money from Jews? I mean, he did. He didn't even just say it. He did it. So, I mean, when you look at something like that, I mean, how frustrating is that?
Well, we knew this was going to happen. Like, the whole point of Assad being taken down and replaced by this regime that they're basically Islamic militants that are similar to Al-Qaeda. It's like the whole point of that, and Israel totally back that regime change. And you might be like, why would Israel want to back something like ISIS? Well, it's because they want to destabilize the country because it's a lot easier to take over Syria when they don't have like a good regime in charge. So, we saw this coming from a mile away. Obviously, that was the whole reason the regime change happened. It wasn't because people like Barry Weiss, who, I remember she went on Joe Rogan, was talking about how certain people are Assad toadies or whatever that means because they don't support regime change in Syria. And it's like, yeah, because not all regime changes are good because sometimes they get swapped out with a regime that's actually even worse. Yeah. And so that was the whole point of Israel backing that regime change. And now, of course, well, this is the outcome that is to be expected. Israel just wants to be able to take out all of their neighbors so they have no threats against them. They can start to expand their borders even further.
Well, don't you understand they were promised that like 3,000 years ago? That's what they were guaranteed, apparently. But it is really interesting, especially because you have Turkey now calling and saying if you don't stop, there will be ramifications. And so there is at least some sort of threat. We're on the precipice of something happening. I don't know if it will be a war like what didn't happen in Iran, where the U.S. decides to bomb another country in the Middle East that ends in a ceasefire where more countries, bomb each other. I mean, fun fact for those of you who don't know, Israel's been around for 925 months and they've broken 963 ceasefires. That's more than one a month on average, which is just absurd. But I know that you have something else to add, and I think we have a clip, right?
Yeah, I did. I wanted to show the Turkey to Israel situation there because, like you just said, Turkey just made it clear it's not cool with Israel's bombing campaign. This is from Mario Nawfal, by the way, on Twitter. Bombing campaign in Syria. Turkey's intel agency reportedly delivered the warning straight to Israeli officials. Foreign Minister Fidan said the strikes are stoking instability and that Syria's new leadership can't fix things without calm in the region. And I wanted to also talk about what you just said, Sarah, because that's really important for people to understand. If you are new to geopolitics, particularly in the Middle East, you need to understand that there are a lot of terrorist organizations, a lot of destabilizing threats in the Middle East that are actually backed by Israel. And so in order to understand Israel's destruction and their desire to destabilize the entire region, you have to understand that they're behind a lot of these, quote, Iran-funded or Iran-backed terrorist organizations, or you have to understand that they have every reason to be behind that. And I think that's something people miss because they think it's as simple as like terrorists versus Israel. And even if they think beyond that, what they don't realize is that, no, it's not actually about not taking the side of ISIS versus Israel. It's actually understanding that a lot of these terrorist organizations are backed by Israel. The instability is literally caused by Israel. So they're causing, they're the cause and they're the reaction. And I think people don't get that.
Created Hamas. So
exactly.
Yeah, because they want a weak enemy.
Yeah.
It's in Israel's favor to have a weak enemy that uses these terrorist tactics, because then they can get Western support. It's like, wow, look at how evil Hamas is. There's no defending what Hamas did on October 7th. And I mean, I agree with that. There is no defending what Hamas did on October 7th because they're just attacking civilians, but that's preferable to an actual army attacking Israel, right?
Like
that's easy. It's much easier to take out, and also you get Western support in that way where it's like, yeah, you have to fully go into Gaza and take out these evil terrorists, and in that case, you can attack. It feels like there's more justification for all the civilian deaths because, like, we have to get the terrorists. They're that evil. It's not another military.
Yeah, well, we also have a lot of unresolved issues within how all that went down. We know the Prime Minister, Benjamin Netanyahu, it was sort of looking like he might have been voted out of power right before the attack happened. Israel is roughly the size of New Jersey as a country in terms of how big they are. It would take a helicopter roughly 45 minutes, an hour max with bad wind to cross from one side of the country to the other. And yet it took hours for the IDF to respond. Now, I've been to Israel twice back when I was younger, on like, I know, right? I know. Don't worry. I didn't lose any pieces of body parts. Nothing was cut off.
Did you
no
kiss
walls.
the wall?
No.
All right,
No
well, as long
walls
as you
or
didn't
I'm
kiss
straight.
the wall, it's okay.
What?
I actually want to, this is going to get clipped, but I actually want to go to Israel because it's cool. It's like, that's where.
That's the problem is I went.
That's where Jesus walked, right? Like, I want to go to Israel, check it out. Now it's like, I don't know if I want to go to Israel after because I'm probably on a list over there or something, and I don't want to.
That's a good point.
That's just.
I want to be
even
safe.
Yeah.
So it kind of sucks because I actually do want to check it out at some point, but I won't be kissing any walls.
I got lucky because I went before all the stuff happened, and I started speaking out and getting canceled online for it. So I got to go see all of the things, like you said, where Jesus walked. I went through the Garden of Gethsemane, and all of these Christian sites, all of these holy sites are wholly disrespected. Like they don't upkeep the Christian religion. I mean, I was walking around with my cross on, getting dirty looks everywhere I went. And I'm sitting here going, this is weird. And this was, maybe I was 17, so 6 years ago. And I even then was going, this is kind of odd. What's happening with this? And now we're seeing, obviously, this. There is people who don't like Christ, don't like Christians, and they don't want Christianity to thrive. And so that's why when you have other countries, they're being bombed, especially the churches. I mean, there's only 1 or 2 churches left standing in Gaza. Is that where all the terrorists are hiding? They're just hiding behind the Mother Mary Magdalene statues.
Yeah.
It's crazy. It breaks my heart to see it online. And now we have videos of them bombing.
Yeah, I was going to say, let's take. You were mentioning the bombing. Let's take a look at that.
I have it pulled up right now. Oh.
Oops, sorry. Go ahead.
Ooh, expose the dog.
Yeah. Wait, who has love?
I have
who has
it.
love? Okay,
Mike, if you want to
give me 1 second because yours is a little trickier.
Sorry, guys. I'm problematic.
All right.
Yeah, after that, we'll read the super chats, guys, because we got some.
I know
super
we had
chats.
some coming in before we even started. So
Yeah, I know.
Read it now.
Okay, well let's
ahead.
take a look at those then. All right. So from Pale Haas, an AP segment. That's me, Anna Perez. Yes.
Thanks.
Great to see you, Pale Haas, by the way. Thank you for the $20 in my name.
Oh, also, $20 gets an air horn and also an applause. So,
Nice.
Well,
And I think-
thank you, Pale Haas.
I think confetti too. So
Yeah.
He's getting everything.
There's a
And
whole.
a signed headshot of me. I will send that to you. Just kidding. I actually don't have headshots, funny enough. So
I don't.
You won't be getting
my
that.
headshot's like 3 years
Yeah,
outdated.
mine are
Everyone
old, yeah.
uses it for everything. Like, guys, that's not even me anymore.
Yeah, it's
Don't
not me
use
anymore.
that.
All right, and then we have from Bloodshot 567. Howdy, Anna. Can you give a shout out to Eric Orwell's Give, Send, Go for Return to the Land? We have to look out for our white brothers.
Can you
Thanks,
open
baby
that
girl.
link?
Yeah, let's take a look
Just so
at
we
that.
can look, because I actually want you to pull that up because I actually totally support this. I don't know if you guys know who like
awesome.
Araval is,
Okay.
but he's basically this guy who created a white colony.
Oh, the
in
Arkansas guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so it's like white Christians, and they just bought their own private land, whatever. And it's like, what, like 50 people? It's like a few families,
Oh.
right? And they're just wanting to like build a land, homeschool their kids on there and everything. And it's like, it's freedom of association, by the way. I wouldn't really care if black people want to do that. If they want to
Well,
like,
that's the thing is they do
if they-
do that
They do.
essentially.
well, they do,
HBCUs.
yeah. It's called Chicago, but like, it's like, yeah, I don't think anyone would care if like, I mean, even Muslims are doing that,
Right.
like Texas and like Hindus and
Well,
stuff.
and
so
what's her
it's like
name's
everyone
district?
else is
Yeah.
allowed to, have freedom of association and like have their own communities. But if white people do it, the ADL is fully trying to shut them down with these lawsuits and stuff. So that's why they need your support. And I actually do fully support that. We might actually check that out at some point.
Yeah, so definitely
So-
check this out. Again, that is Return to the Land, Eric Orwell's Give, Send, Go. So thank you, Bloodshot, for bringing that up. Very important. And then we have, let's see, Homer J. Fuentes, who we all met last night.
No.
Are you allowed to say that?
Are we allowed to say that?
I don't know.
Yeah, we can say that. It's fine. Yeah.
Okay,
Just
well,
don't
he's
dox him.
awesome.
Yeah.
And let's say he sent $100. Thank you, Homer. We create a pretend world. We are a global production company. We write the screenplay. We're the directors. We're the producers. We're the main actors. And the world is our stage. Mossad on 60 Minutes. Absolutely true. And I think that's kind of what we're witnessing with Israel, obviously, which is what you and I were talking about, how they create their own crises and then they react to it and act like they're the victims because that's what Jews do best. All right.
Also, I think that I think it was Ari Emanuel, who is the brother of once Chicago Mayor Rahm Emanuel. He's a big PR guy, and he said, "Never let a good crisis go to waste." And
Yes,
that's one thing that Israelis have always stood true to, is they've never let a good crisis go to waste. So yeah,
right. And I was quoting that yesterday, and I totally forgot who said it, but yes, it's Rahm Emanuel. And people talk a lot about that. People talked a lot about it during COVID because they did the same thing. I mean, that's what the left does. It's what Israel does. So we're very familiar with that problem. All right, so let's go ahead and move on.
Video time?
Yes, we wanted to play those videos of the bombing that we were just talking about in Syria. So let's play that one from Luke. Luke, we are changed. Luke Radowski.
All right.
Wait, this is your screen now?
My
Sorry.
screen? Yeah.
Or Anna's? Which one?
Oh, wait.
No, mine's here. I got it up.
Okay, there you got. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
All right.
Israel is now bombing the puppet they helped install in Syria. Zionists only want chaos. This kind of looks like Zoran Mamdani, actually.
Yeah.
That was my first thought.
Zoran, what are you doing up there?
Let's see if we have sound.
شباب في عندنا قصف شباب قصف قصف يا شباب، خذونا على الهواء. شباب قصف بسرعة. بسرعة يا شباب. يا شباب خذونا على اللايف. قصف هيئة الأركان.
Do we know what building they hit? Because I know they hit something.
It was I forgot what it was now. It was like the Department of it was like the Ministry of Defense. I could be mistaken. Maybe someone in the chat knows, but if I'm not mistaken, it was like the building of the Ministry of Defense. I believe. Could be wrong, but yeah.
Oh, okay.
Who knows? I'm just a producer here.
Well,
I just work here.
well, and didn't they say like a month ago that they weren't? Because I was here last time we were talking about it in June. They said that like Israel was not going to be covering certain events, or like they weren't going to let certain journalists cover what was going on.
Yeah.
And I understand that like during wartime, like countries do different things, they have different tactics, but it didn't really look good coming from Israel, coming from the country that is the aggressor in this situation.
Well, I actually know someone who's a former colleague of mine. I don't know if, yeah, I can say that. When we both used to work at Rebel News and then we both left, and he actually, his name's Jeremy Alfredo, he actually went to Israel and was reporting on what was going on after he left Rebel News, just doing independent work. And Israel arrested him for reporting just on the ground, like not releasing any private information or anything. And Israel arrested him, threw him in jail. I think he said they even like hit him a bit and stuff. It's like crazy stuff. And yeah, and he's an American. So they arrested an American journalist on. So that's our greatest ally for you.
Right. Our greatest
Crazy.
ally. Well, out of curiosity, what was his stance on Israel? Like, I mean, obviously he was a journalist.
No,
so it
he's
could have been-
Israel critical for sure. But I mean,
Okay.
he wasn't reporting any false information. He was just reporting
No,
objective
but that just
facts.
goes to show they don't want anybody really critical covering these things, because they also just don't want the truth out, which is the fact that they are the aggressor, and because they can't take the victimhood stance anymore, obviously. Which is what they keep claiming, because they can't justify bombing these other countries. And I do think like Western support for this is obviously running out. But yeah, there's a lot more videos. Should we show more? Let's see. Let's show what was there another video you wanted to show?
Yeah, you have the
Suppress?
one from Mario,
Okay.
Nafal.
Oh, okay. Let's do that
These are
one.
people crossing into Syria from Jews.
Okay. Oh, we skipped that one earlier. Okay. Let's play that.
That was the
All right, I'm gonna play this. I didn't know it was a video. I thought it was a tweet.
oh no, the one on the that's back on the Syria thing.
Mm.
I have the video of Nafal with
Yeah,
the
do you want to?
people.
Let's
We can go to
throw
me.
that up. Yeah.
Okay, let me bring up your screen real quick. You good?
I'm
There
ready.
you go, I see you.
Yeah. So here I'll read the text. Hundreds of Druze cross into Syria. No response from Israeli forces. The border is wide open. Hundreds of Druze citizens are now reportedly crossing from Israel into Syria with zero action taken by the IDF and border police to stop them. Despite official warnings and public pleas from Prime Minister Netanyahu and Druze leadership, no containment efforts are visible at the fence. They're no longer isolated. It is a mass crossing unfolding in real time. Israel's policy of restraint is now being tested on both sides of the wire. Now, I don't know what you guys make of this, but this seems like let all your enemies in so they can do something bad so that you have a reason to retaliate, because they just bombed Syria and now they're putting themselves up. Okay, our border's open. If some bad guy manages to slip in and do something terrible to our citizens, well then America, you have to come to our aid, because look at us. We're poor and helpless and we didn't do anything. Let's go. It's a short video, but I want to check it out.
Oh, let me go back to you. Sorry.
It kind of reminds me of the
Our
border
southern
crossing
border?
with Biden. Yeah,
Yeah.
during Biden's presidency,
Right.
it's just a
Texas.
stream of people.
Yeah, and it's the same strategy that they've been recycling for years. I mean, they did it with October 7th too. Like we were just discussed, like, are these enemies really organic, or is Israel funding them? You know, I would say the latter is true. So it is interesting because it's two things going on at once. It's like we're going to create this optic that it's our enemy, but we're also going to create the optics that they just kind of infiltrated as if we had nothing to do with the creation of these enemies. So, I mean, it's just classic Israel, and there's really nothing. They're just going to keep doing this until the Trump admin puts them in their place, or until some president does. And I don't think that will be the Trump admin. So
Not
I
at
think
all.
we're just going to continue taking their side. So kind of back to square one, like what Marco Rubio was saying, we want peace. all right, well, we're never going to achieve it because we kind of screwed ourselves over in that way. And I do want to kind of shift gears, speaking of the Trump admin talking about sending billions in weapons to Ukraine. But before we do that, I want to go ahead and talk about one of our sponsors that you have something to talk about. This is definitely more appropriate coming from you.
It's true. It probably is a little bit more appropriate coming from me. I want to make sure, as the only guy on this panel tonight, to actually do it properly. So I'm going to be reading as to not, butcher this so that they drop us. We are witnessing a generational decline in men's testosterone levels due to lifestyle choices, diet. That's not something to cheer. And environmental toxins. Look, the decline can really result in anything: persistent fatigue, diminished strength, reduced libido, mood swings, overall loss of vitality, keeping you feeling from being your best self. Oh, I grabbed the right bottle on the first try. This is Man's Edge. I appreciate that. I just grabbed into the bunch. This is Man's Edge, okay? Look, this is Neutronic. It's Neutronics Labs, and this is a natural solution to help support healthy testosterone levels. Is the only guy here with testosterone. Man's Edge is more than just, a standard booster. You're not like injecting something straight into your body like this. What it does is it combines ingredients like fenugreek, IGF-1, NO2, and a bunch of other things to help you feel your best. Okay, studies show that fenugreek increases testosterone by up to 46%, and unlike other traditional powders and pills, this has a 98% absorption rate, basically ensuring that you receive the full benefits of these clinically proven ingredients. So you do this, you put it under your tongue, and that's how you that's just how you take it. It's really that easy. Even Frank Stallone's made it perfectly clear that it is part of his daily routine to stay at the top of his game. So join him and a bunch of other guys, including Elijah and, all the cool people that have already signed up for the auto ship program, which will give you 50% off on all your orders. If you go to ElijahIGF1.com and use code Elijah to save an additional 10% on your first order. And that's the whole thing. We can keep moving now.
Yes. Well, yes. Speaking about T levels, I was trying to segue into this, but anyway, yeah. If,
I don't know what that segue would be.
Speaking of dropping T levels,
speaking of dropping
President
T levels,
Trump.
yeah, I wish he would raise his so he would stand up to these foreign countries that he keeps sending billions of dollars to. And of course, most recently, that would be Ukraine, which we were told that he was going to be this badass guy, badass president who was finally going to put Zelensky in his place, but obviously that's not happening. And I want to go to this right now. Let's see. This is on Rift TV on our website. Trump shifts gears, sends billions in weapons to Ukraine via NATO allies. This is just sickening because, for starters, like I just said, there was a lot of hope that he was actually going to put an end to this war. And we knew since, probably a little bit after the first term, okay, we don't really trust him when it comes to Israel. But at least we thought he was going to put an end to the billions we've been giving Ukraine. So I want to go ahead and go to you, Sarah, just to give your take on what's going on here.
Yeah, well, it's just another fell for it again award. And it's just I honestly thought, I didn't think Trump was going to be amazing on Israel and Iran and all those things.
We made a deal
I didn't
today.
think.
Sorry about that.
I don't think I believed ever that we were going to fully get the Epstein files or anything, but I didn't think it would be this bad, where they gaslit us this hard and he turned on his own base. But with the Ukraine thing, this was the number one promise, guys. Even people who are pro-Israel and, pro-foreign intervention in foreign wars when it comes to Israel, most of those people generally were still against sending foreign aid to Ukraine. This was a regular right-wing talking point that all these people were saying, Tulsi Gabbard and RFK and all these people who joined the Trump campaign and made him win were saying that we are going to stop supporting Ukraine. So this is just I would say this is a huge disappointment, because it's really, this feels like the easiest thing you could have done. You know what I mean? So yeah.
Well, exactly. It wasn't that hard to stand up to Zelensky out of all people. Literally fell for it again award. That's
all he's
exactly.
forgetting is the MAGA hat. That's pretty much it.
Well, and yeah, I mean, that for so long, that was the one thing that everybody was saying, including myself, because I actually didn't think it would be that hard to stand up against Zelensky. And he kind of did. Like, people were saying that he was like pro-Putin, which is like not true at all. And I hope he's not kind of giving into that narrative to try and seem like he's, well, no, I'm not pro-Putin. I'll prove it to you by continuing to give money to Zelensky. Like, I hope that's not what's going on here, but something tells me that's probably part of it.
Without a doubt. That's definitely what it seemed. That was my first guess too. Is like, oh, he's so pro-Putin. He goes, oh, no, I'm not. Watch me. I'll send a bunch of weapons and money to Ukraine. And Zelensky's just like got him. I mean, we were talking about testosterone. He's just got him by the balls. He just
literally
popped one. That's why it's so low.
I mean, does he even have balls? I don't know.
At this point, they may have been a little too shriveled up. Like there's nothing else being produced. It's super unfortunate though, because I know a lot of people, like Sarah said, we're like, okay, you know what? He's not going to deal with Israel. He's just, whatever. But he's the guy who did the Abraham Accords. So no new wars. And that was his whole slogan. He was like, I'll end the Ukraine and Russia war in a matter of 100 days. It's been 100 days. I was actually in DC for the 100-day summit. And I was sitting there going, what are we celebrating? The bill hasn't been passed. The war is still going on. We're just patting ourselves on the back for really doing nothing.
Deportations.
We have the House, the Senate, and the presidency, and we can't do anything. I mean, I just wish that Trump was 10% of as bad as the left makes him out to be. Like if he was just 10% of what they say.
I wish he was the king they were making him out to be with unlimited power. Sorry.
But 10%. What's sad is
no King's Day. What do you mean? Like, I wish we had a King Day. How about that? Like, we need a king. I wish Trump was a king, but he's not. He's gay. And I'm tired. I'm not going to, I can't hold back anymore.
Well, I'm glad he's not king because he clearly isn't doing anything now when he's not king. And he actually has quite a bit of power. Like you said, the House, the Senate, nothing. So, if he was king, it probably would be the same. He'd probably still be selling out to Israel. Maybe it would be even worse. So at this point, I think what we've learned is that he's just not the guy that we all supported in 2016. And I just keep telling people that. And I said this last time I was here. I was like, people need to divorce themselves from this idea that he's this based guy who's really rogue and going against the system.
5D chess.
Right.
I don't know.
It's just so like, it's demoralizing. It is. And not to be like black-pilled on it, but I do think if there's one white pill here, the takeaway would be, of course, that maybe people will see that we were lied to about the foreign war situation. And a lot of people are waking up when it comes to Israel. Obviously, now we have this news. He's going to continue to give money to Ukraine. So I do have hope that people are seeing this and they're thinking, well, maybe we need to be a little bit more critical when it comes to the people that we support from day one, the people that we raise up to these godlike figures, which is blasphemous anyway, like coming from people who call themselves Christian a lot of the time. It was just such a mistake. We created a monster. And by we, I don't mean myself. I mean the entirety of the MAGA movement. And I think that's,
well, it's hard to know. It's so impossible to know with someone like Trump. Like, how much did he actually want to fulfill his campaign promises? I think he does care about these things to some extent, but it's hard to know how much it's him or how much it's just the system, the people that are in his ear and the people he's trying to work with. And I mean, who knows, right? Like the donors, the special interest groups he's trying to please. He owes people favors for sure for getting elected. So I think that's a big part of it. It's really hard to know how much it's Trump and how much it's just like this unbreakable system that we once thought he was against.
Yeah, and it's really showing that he is basically on the side of the system now. Did you want to play the video of Trump asking the question?
Yeah,
because I have it up if we want.
Let's go to that for sure, because this is the actual him being asked the question that we've been just talking about for the past 20 minutes or so.
Are you on Ukraine's side now? No, I'm on nobody's side. Why? I want to. You know what the side I'm on? Humanity's side. I want to stop the killing of thousands of people a week. I want to stop the killing. I want the killing to stop in the Ukraine-Russia war. That's the side I'm on. Mr. President.
The question is, how can you be on no one's side when you're sending billions and billions of dollars in weapons to one side? That's clearly taking a side, is it not?
Yeah. And somebody's going to die. So, because where else would those weapons be used for? So, or what else would it be used for? So are you really on the side of humanity when you're behind a war? I don't think you can really say that.
No, but the people who are going to die are the ones who literally don't deserve it the most.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
they're the ones who are
civilians.
The guys my age who are killing each other across battlefield lines who have no business being in this war. That's what pisses me off about every World War I, World War II. My ancestors killed each other for what? What were we doing? And we're doing the exact same thing with Ukraine and Russia. We're going into a
They
war.
died so that we could
Import
create transgenders.
and import Africans.
Yeah, and import Africans. Duh. Best cause ever.
I know, but it's just disappointing. Like, genuinely,
No,
it's
it is.
disappointing,
Yeah.
especially with
now
drone
instead
warfare.
of speaking German, we're speaking Spanish. So
Speaking Arabic
Yeah.
soon enough. But like now we have drone warfare. I mean, have you seen these clips online? My Instagram feed is really messed up. I get nothing but racist and people dying. It's not good. Like,
Well-
or it could be good depending on who's watching and whether they agree or not. But I'm seeing these clips of these drones flying overhead and there are people cowering
Is
in
this in-
fear
in Russia?
in Russia and
Yeah.
in Ukraine, and they're just driving the drones into people. And I'm sitting here going, that was someone's son. That was potentially someone's
Yeah.
husband. And you think he was caring about the war? He was just forced there by the government in charge. That's not his place. And now he gave up his life for nothing, for an inch on the battlefield that will be taken back within a matter of hours, if not minutes. Like
Yeah.
it's heartbreaking.
And I don't know if you guys have seen, but they have like videos where they recruit people. I don't think we have it, but they'll actually like force people to be recruited, young men to be recruited for this war. And it's like, when you get to that point and it's been going on for this long, who's going to put an end to it? And it has to be somebody like Trump. It has to be a third party, somebody who was supposed to be on the side of peace, world peace, but he's not going to do it. And what's worse is we're using our resources. That's the cherry on top. We're using American resources to back this. So, and I do want to play another video here because this was interesting. He said, I'm on nobody's side. You know whose side? Well, actually,
We
Yeah,
just
already
did the
watched that.
nobody's
Okay.
side.
Yeah, he said, so this is another thing he just announced. He said Trump just announced that his big major announcement is that he'll impose nearly 100% tariffs on Russia if Putin doesn't agree on a deal with Ukraine in 50 days, which doesn't really make any sense considering he just was the one who backed Ukraine in all of this.
sent $10 billion
Yeah.
of weapons.
So let's go ahead and play this. I have it up on mine, Mike.
And we're going to be doing very severe tariffs if we don't have a deal in 50 days. Tariffs at about 100%. You'd call them secondary tariffs. You know what that means. But today we're going to talk about something else. And as you know, we've spent $350 billion approximately on this war with Russia and Ukraine. And would like to see it end. It wasn't my war. It was Biden's war. It's not my war. I'm trying to get you out of it. And we want to see it end. And I'm disappointed in President Putin because I thought we would have had a deal 2 months ago, but it doesn't seem to get there. So based on that, we're going to be doing secondary tariffs if we don't have a deal in 50 days. It's very simple. And they'll be at 100%. And that's the way it is. It can be more simple. It's just the way it is. Very unhappy with them, and we're going to be...
Yeah.
Let it end. We don't have to be in it. Just
Yeah.
pull America out. Let them fight. I don't care. Like one of my best friends, his wife is Ukrainian, and even she's like, we need to stop. Because when it first broke out as a Ukrainian, she was going, oh my gosh, I have family over there. This is terrible. Now, 4 years later or whatever, 3 years later, she's going, why is America so invested in sending money and weapons and everything?
This has been going
like,
on for so long. It's crazy. This started during COVID.
And
Yeah.
yet she's about to have her second kid. She's like, I would rather take some tax dollars and allocate it to supporting my family rather than sending weapons to another country to keep this perpetual war
Yeah.
going. Trump's like, we
But
want
to
it
be
to end.
fair,
Come on.
I would rather Trump try to stop the war through tariffs than, through fighting. But I don't know.
He's
Then
I don't know
both
if it'll make a
sides.
Basically,
difference
he's-
because we've done that for so long already. And it hasn't really hurt their economy that bad.
But instill the tariffs on both sides then. Right now, it's only on Russia. If he really
Yeah.
wants the war to end, just keep implementing more and more tariffs on both countries until they either concede with each other, one country wins, and they become a super country again. Like we don't have to be part of any of it. Just give them tariffs and piss off.
Yeah, do it to either both sides or none. But because like at this point, he clearly is taking a side. It doesn't really matter what his justification is. And it's the same thing with Israel. It's like, this is what's so frustrating. They want an outcome that they're not actually working towards. Or I should say they claim they want an outcome, but they're not working towards that outcome. And that outcome is, of course, they want peace. How do you achieve peace when you're clearly taking a side? It just doesn't make any sense. It's like a math equation that just you got the wrong answer for.
It's like me fighting my little brother and then my mom punishing only me and going like, I'm not choosing favorites, but Braeden, no candy after dinner, or when no dessert after dinner, and my little brother gets a bowl of ice cream, and I'm sitting there like, that's favoritism, Mom. What are you doing? And
Does
even
this
then,
still
in the
happen to you
analogy,
at 23 years old?
you know,
it sounds like a little too specific.
I'm gonna plead the fifth here. I'm not gonna keep diving any deeper in this analogy.
By the way, also too, have we hit the YouTube super chats yet? Because we have a few. I can read through them if you want me
Yeah,
to.
you wanna?
Oh, please.
Please
Okay.
do.
All right. So we have some on YouTube. Forgive me if I missed any, but I think this is all of them. Punished Mav for $2. That doesn't warrant any sound on the soundboard. So next time, donate more. But Punished Mav says, "I believe that you're fully Southern European." So shout out to Punished Mav.
Nice.
Is that about me? Yeah,
yes.
I guess it is.
Who else would it
Drop
be?
the DNA test. Drop the DNA
Well,
test.
I did drop it in Sarah's replies because she did a DNA test recently, and then I dropped
Nice.
mine. So
Yeah. Well,
I do have the proof.
Yeah, Sarah might not want to show hers because it's going to show 99% Ashkenazi. But anyway, next super chat is from some Greek name. I can't even read it, but it says, "Hey guys, Israel medically aided al-Nusra, aka Al-Qaeda in Syria, published in Jerusalem Post, also referred to clean break memo of 1996, commissioned by, I'm guessing that's just a code for Jews on YouTube." He
Yeah.
said just, but JUS. So
I think so. Yeah. I mean, that is true. And I did kind of bring that up at the beginning of the video that Israel has basically funded the regime change by giving the equivalent of Al-Qaeda weapons in Syria.
Okay.
And that was very recent. So
And then also we have one more that says millions of Orthodox Christians continue to die. And I was gonna.
Yes.
That
is true.
There's no good sound for that on the soundboard, unfortunately.
It's just
sad.
depression. Is
Yeah.
there a sound that
We have
sounds
the
like
womp, womp,
depression?
womp.
Soundboard, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, no, but
No, don't do the
even-
womp
yeah.
womp. That's like a little crazy.
Yeah.
Don't do
It's
that.
terrible.
So anyway, but and anyway, we have a new guest. Want to introduce
Lauren.
Anna? So.
Yes, we have Lauren Witzke here. Lauren, welcome.
Thank you for having me. Another woman. I know the
I know.
audience is just thrilled.
Yeah.
So happy.
You guys love women.
Yeah, they were waiting for
There's there's so much estrogen in this room right now.
I'm really fighting. Like, this is tough. Like, I could feel it's overpowering me. It's strong, man. Scary.
Yes.
Which
yes.
leads me to our next super chat. Someone said, "Mr. Sorbo, I'll buy Rift TV's testosterone booster right now if you can personally attest they are more effective than Alex Jones boner pills."
Can you personally attest to that?
Well, do gas station rhino pills count? Because Alex Jones, they were too expensive. So does that, like, you know what I mean? Those were pricey. Does that count?
How much is it?
I don't know.
I don't know what that. I don't know what any of this means, to be honest.
Yeah.
Yes, get the stuff. It's better than the boner pills because it's natural. The boner pills are filled with crushed up rhinoceros toenails or something.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm personally taking that.
It works really well before.
I'm like, wait,
It
hold
works
on.
really well before a workout.
Wait,
Or-
does anyone know what would happen if a girl took it?
Viagra?
Oh, I looked it up before because I was really curious about this. Not that I was planning on taking it, but yeah.
Trans.
If you
moment?
take
Yeah,
if
what
you take
happens?
Viagra, Cialis,
just-
or anything before
I
a
don't wanna,
workout,
like,
all it
be
does is
graphic.
increase your blood flow.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. It's a blood
Yeah.
flow thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
Right.
Well, that's not really. Yeah. Sure.
So, but what would happen, like, if you're a girl and you took like that stuff every day,
oh,
the
this-
T-boost?
The T-boot.
What
Then
would
you
happen?
probably
Oh, that I have no idea.
probably
Who
get
knows?
some more
Would your voice
testosterone.
get deeper?
I mean,
Wait,
You
yeah.
turned to Blair White.
Well, see, women have both testosterone and estrogen, and sometimes, like, we're supposed to have a little testosterone, but I don't
Yeah,
know
that's
if,
true.
Like,
well, you wouldn't want to overbalance it. That's the thing. Is
Yeah.
if it gets out of balance, that's when you get all problems. Which is why all the bodybuilders in the 70s died of heart attacks because they took estrogen suppressants and as much test as possible, and the body can't handle that. Which is why bodybuilders today do a little bit of both. Is they'll incrementally increase it so that your body doesn't, freak out and react. And how did we switch from Ukraine to this? I'm so confused.
Yeah.
Anna's ethnicity has been brought into question again.
Yeah. It's
That
very
is-
confusing for people.
Real
Okay.
American Media Network says, "Is Anna brown or white?" And I need a confirmation from Mendoza.
Oh.
Well, no, because like here's the thing, I don't know how I would be considered brown if I'm not actually brown. Like, you know what I mean? Like my skin is clearly white. Well, I actually have a spray tan, but even then I still look really pale on camera. I'm actually probably tanner in real life.
Here, let's see.
You're tanner.
I'm darker than her.
That's
Oh,
what's
yeah.
crazy. Well, I feel like what's
So
weird
Lauren is
though.
brown.
And that's
confirmed?
that I have a spray
No,
tan.
the camera lighting is making you look so
Really
much
pale.
darker than
Oh.
me and Lauren. But it's the camera. But in person, you're literally lighter than
Yeah.
Lauren.
Well, that's what I
Yeah,
tell
no,
people.
she's
I'm not
brighter.
even, someone says Anna's olive. I'm not even necessarily olive. Olive's an undertone. It's not like a darkness indicator. But in any case,
It's called summer.
if I'm not like white, then what am I? Because I wouldn't say I'm brown.
Yeah, I don't know.
You know?
Release the ancestry.
I say I'm white.
That you could prove it to everybody
maybe
right now.
Spanish? I don't know. Is like Spanish count?
I don't
'Cause
think
it's like
anyone
kind
knows what
of-
white
Spanish or
means,
Europeans,
though.
right?
Yeah, well,
Like,
Spain and Portugal are in Europe, and I'm French too. So it's like those 3 countries are in Europe. So I always consider myself white. Like, I don't know.
It's just
Spanish.
like,
Only-
yeah. It's like there used to be debates on like what white means. Like, is it like Anglo or is it like Southern
Southern
European?
European.
I don't think it's
but
something
I
to
just
be
think it's
ashamed of.
interchangeable with European,
like
personally.
Yeah.
being you, it's nothing to be ashamed of. Everybody like needs to like we're not like a white nationalist movement. We just aren't. We aren't like a. And if you have like a
Well,
piece of
I kind of am.
a
No.
10%, yeah, like a 10, like a part of like Hispanic in you, like that does. I mean, you can still want to deport all the illegals. You can still want to
Yeah.
keep America sovereign.
Well, no, it's true. Like you can have a problem with, or you can tell me I'm not white all day. It doesn't make what I'm saying any less true. Like it
She's
doesn't-
European.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know. I think it's crazy to have that debate, but I don't really care. At the end of the day, like to your point, like it doesn't make the facts any less true.
Yeah.
Like, you know.
You know
but,
it's Spanish
yeah.
DNA that makes like Mexicans tall or short, right?
Well, that's
Wait,
what
really?
makes them
Yeah.
attractive or not.
Yes, no, literally
Because the
Mexicans
more
because they're
European
in the
DNA
cold
have-
mountains, they grow
Yeah.
wide and short. That's why so many like Mexican women are tortas. But if they have
Yeah.
Spanish DNA from Europeans, then it ends
They're
up like
tall.
that's how they turn into what's that
Yeah.
actress
Right.
Sofia Vergara or whatever. That's
That's what I was saying the other day on the show.
Yes.
Yeah, or last month. The more European DNA, like Mexicans and other South Americans have, usually the more attractive they are. It's just true. European features are usually in line with the standard of, you know, beauty.
yep.
right.
That might upset people, but that's true.
no.
Anyways,
Anyway,
switching
anyway,
back to
now
the
that we're
topic
done
at
talking
hand.
about my ethnicity for the millionth time, I don't know why that's so confusing to people.
Also, I think we got more Rumble super chats.
Do we get one?
Oh,
Do you want to
yeah,
read
we
through
did-
those before we go back
we'll
to
get
Ukraine?
through. Well, I think we
Oh.
read.
Also, should probably be getting on to the interview sometime soon too.
Yeah,
so,
well-
'cause
What time are we doing that?
we do have okay. So just for everyone who's been asking, we do have an interview that Elijah did with Dinesh, but obviously we're kind of just easing into it. But it's good. It's 30 minutes long, so
Okay.
it's worth the wait.
Well,
it'll come up.
We addressed the last super chat about me. The $20 one was from Real American Media Network.
Oh, that was what Sarah read.
Oh, I already read that.
read it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, she did. Okay, all right.
Well,
Okay,
then
so then we can switch to the
let's
Dinesh
move on
interview in a couple
to-
minutes.
yeah.
maybe?
Well, let's talk a little bit about the Epstein situation because that's of course what the interview is about.
Mm-hmm.
You know, obviously right now it's still a bit of a contentious, well, not a bit, it's a very contentious issue. And in fact, we do have an update. We have from President Trump. Let's take a look at
Oh boy.
that. Just in, President Trump says people demanding the release of the Epstein files are his past supporters and are being conned by Democrats. My past supporters have bought into this BS, hook, line, and sinker. Okay, but you told us you were going to be releasing these files. You were the one who riled up your base, and now you're calling them stupid or they're buying into BS. I mean, what do you make of this, Lauren? Because I just think this is so insane.
So I've thought about this because I've like been shocked at his behavior and his reactions, like just shocked. He's called us stupid. He's been dismissive. Stop talking about it. Stop talking about it. And it's kind of his behavior that made the whole thing weird because he campaigned on releasing the Epstein files. His entire base, the QAnon especially base, was like born around the Epstein files and everything like that. If he had come done a press release and been like, hey, listen, we'll do a press release about Epstein and gone through it and been like, hey guys, this is what happened. I'm like informing, and he was like, there was a way to do it. And the way he's done it is just all wrong. Like dismissive. Don't talk about it. Oh, you're stupid. And we're like it's just his reaction to something so big that his entire base was built off of, and his behavior is what is tripping me out. It is the way he addressed it. Just it's very bizarre to me. I think it has something to do with Alan Dershowitz. That's what I think. His lawyer. Everybody forgets about Dershowitz. He did that interview. That he was at Epstein's mansion and he got a massage, but he kept his underwear on. He was like, but I kept my underwear on, Well, that was Trump's lawyer.
Yeah.
So I think you can't tell me, like, and if I had a lawyer,
Just lock him up. I don't really care about him. Like,
Dershowitz.
I think we can
needs
throw
to-
that guy under the bus. You
Yeah,
know
I
what I
don't really
mean?
need
Like,
him.
Put
if
him in
we're
with
gonna-
the key.
if we're gonna throw someone under the bus to save the country, it can be Alan Dershowitz.
yeah,
Yeah.
he needs. Yeah, so I think that he's maybe has a big sway on Trump's reaction to this, or his, the way he addressed it. But the whole thing is very bizarre to me. But I do think, he's surrounded by Zionists too, and all these decisions recently, who do they benefit?
Yeah, well, they benefit our greatest ally.
Exactly.
And they've taken, you've seen the next steps that they've taken, because originally it was, there is no file, stop asking, stop asking, stop asking. And
Right.
now the next stage in this is, insulting anyone who, these people are just fat, lazy, idiots who don't know what they're doing.
Right.
And I pulled up the video of Misfit Patriot. I wanted to
Oh.
play that to tee
Always a
everything
winner.
up.
Oh
I
my
know.
gosh.
Patriot.
Classic guy,
His
wears
whole
Crocs on
existence
airplanes.
is just rage bait.
It is. But Mike, there we go. So here's the video of Misfit on his podcast.
He's just a lol cow.
Fucking deliver an Epstein list, or you're not going to win the next election that you can't even run in. What's the
Called the
threat to
midterms,
Donald
idiot.
Trump? You're not threatening Donald Trump. You're threatening America. You're
America.
a fucking terrorist. You're holding this country hostage if you don't get your way. Sound familiar? Because the fucking left just did that for a decade. Fucking deliver an Epstein list.
Yeah, what
Okay,
a
I refuse to believe this guy isn't Jewish. Like, he says he's not, but the way he pronounces the word terrorist is
Yeah.
like,
No.
he sounds like he belongs to the IDF.
I especially loved Benny Johnson's statement the other day. He's like, I talked to top intel officials, and they're saying that it's all under control, and they're talking about. It's just like I don't know where these people are getting fed, but they're trying everything to see what sticks with
Yeah.
us, and nothing's working because we survived Stop the Steal. We didn't cave. Everybody's telling us, forget the stolen election. It's not real. It never happened. It wasn't. We kept pushing on. The COVID lockdowns. We're freaking veterans. We're not like backing down. And he has to remember who his base is. We're not backing down just because Misfit Patriot. Who is that freak? Just a freak.
Well, and that's kind of what we were saying last night. Like, they're just trying so hard to come up with these excuses. Like, they're twisting themselves into pretzels, coming up with new excuses, throwing it at the wall, seeing what sticks, and nothing's sticking. And they're getting extremely, they're very concerned because people are calling Trump out. People are calling the Trump admin out. They're calling out Pam Bondi, and they're kind of panicking because where do they go from here if they couldn't even do the most basic thing, which was to expose these child traffickers, which was, again, a cornerstone of Trump's campaign. And he said that himself when he hosted the Sound of Freedom premiere, and so much more, so many other things that he had done. And I praised him vehemently back when he was doing that. But obviously now we're not, he's not living up to that standard. Speaking of which, obviously this has been kind of a debate on the right, as you just heard Misfit Patriot talking about it. And there's a lot of people on the right who have been defending this action from the Trump admin to continue withholding the Epstein files, including, like we were talking about earlier, Dinesh D'Souza. And we had him on. Well, Elijah had him on the show to discuss this very topic. So I do want to go ahead and go to that because I think that's a very interesting discussion for you guys to hear.
Mr. President, I know you want to move past all this intrigue over the Epstein files, but I do want to ask you to clarify something you said this morning. You said this was all a hoax. Has your Attorney General told you this was a hoax? What evidence have you
No,
seen?
it's not the Attorney General. No, I know it's a hoax. It's started by Democrats. It's been run by the Democrats for 4 years. You had Christopher Wray and these characters and Comey before him. And it's a bad group. It started, actually, look at the Steele dossier that turned out to be a total hoax. The 51 agents, the intelligence, so-called intelligence agents, it was a hoax. It's all been a big hoax. It's perpetrated by the Democrats. And some stupid Republicans and foolish Republicans fall into the net. And so they try and do the Democrats' work. The Democrats are good for nothing other than these hoaxes. They're bad for policy. They're bad for picking candidates that can get elected. Like in New York, we have a communist running. He may get elected too, actually, but he'll destroy the city. No, it's I call it the Epstein hoax. It takes a lot of time and effort. Instead of talking about the great achievements we've had, a great gentleman yesterday, as you know, went on CNBC and he made the statement that Trump may go down as the greatest president of all in the United States. And instead of talking about the things we've achieved, we've had tremendous achievement. They're wasting their time with a guy who obviously had some very serious problems, who died 3-4 years ago. I'd rather talk about the success we have with the economy, the best we've ever had, and all of the things we've done, including in the Middle East. I mean, you see it. Instead, they want to talk about the Epstein hoax. And the sad part is it's people that are really doing the Democrats' work. They're stupid people.
Trump is using some extremely loaded language now, calling the Epstein situation, which I call a scandal, the Epstein hoax. He even called it a Democrat hoax, and those who continue to talk about it as stupid. Some of his most ardent followers, including Benny Johnson and Jack Posobiec, this has split his base into what I consider to be one of the most consequential and somewhat blightening moments of the Trump administration. However, not everybody agrees with me. Some people say that, well, we should go with Trump's call because, well, maybe he knows more than us, or there's something else out there that I'm missing. And rather than just dismissing the people who are agreeing with Trump, one of those individuals, Dinesh D'Souza, he's an author, a filmmaker, and an incredible voice on the right wing who cares about this country, joins me today to talk about this riff between those who say Trump is in the wrong and those who say, well, we should go with the MAGA movement and believe when he says we got to drop it. Dinesh D'Souza, welcome back to the show.
Hey, my pleasure. Great to join you. And yeah, this is a really tough one. It's a genuine scandal. Trump seems to be saying that there was some tampering with the files under the Democratic, aegis. They've had 4 years to do it. They're not above doing it. In fact, they're specialists in doing it. And Trump seems to be making the prudential judgment that at the end of the day, this is not something that he wants to release. So it's not that I think that he should or he shouldn't. I'm simply trying to take stock of why Trump is saying the things that he is and what is the best way for us to react to it.
Okay, but Dinesh, see, you're not stupid, okay? I know you know your family. You have a great family. I know your work. It stands on its own with or without knowing anything about you. But I can't help but feel that a lot of people like yourself included are playing the long game here, particularly when it comes to politics, realizing, look, it's probably not politically expedient and profitable to really, come against the Trump campaign when he's taking such a hard line. Why, or what could you convince people like me that you're not just playing politics and that we also should somehow believe after Trump did the photo op phase 1 of the Epstein files, after he went out and Pam Bondi said that the Epstein files were on her desk, and that suddenly now we should be like, well, if we want answers, we're stupid. It feels like a smack in the face, and it just seems, and I'm not accusing you, and I'm wanting you to explain to me, it seems like yourself and others are just playing the game to not upset the Trump administration. Am I seeing this correctly?
I don't think so. I think this is the way I look at it. In a representative democracy, as opposed to a direct democracy, we elect people and we put them into positions of power mainly because we trust their judgment. On a lot of issues, it will be the case that they will make a call based upon their kind of view of things that is not shared by us. I mean, a really good example is Trump says Iran is approaching the point of getting nuclear weapons. Now, you and I could say, well, prove it to us. And Trump is like, I don't have to prove it to you. I have access to all kinds of knowledge, intelligence, insider information. You elected me to make the call, and so I'm going to send out the B-2 bombers and take out those facilities. If it was your call, then we would have a direct democracy where Dinesh and Elijah could go on their computer and hit fire or hit send, and then the B-2 bombers would go out that way. But that's not our political system. And now I'm using the analogy of Iran, but the same would apply to Epstein. Now, let's say you and I can certainly think of 2 or 3 scenarios where we would be in Trump's place, and we are looking at these files as they are, and there's something in them or not in them or about them, and we make a decision that we don't want to release these files and we don't want to give the reason why we're not doing it. Can you conceive of such a case?
Yeah, I could, and I just want to add a caveat to that. Then, though, people are saying that one of those reasons could be that Lutnick or some of his donors were close to Epstein, and he's doing them a favor, or that there's information maybe Trump didn't know was about himself that could either implicate him or that was tampered with that makes him look guilty of crimes. That it's a selfish endeavor. I think American people aren't convinced, just like the weapons of mass destruction, that the reasons why we know he has reasons, but the reasons why he's doing this are actually in the benefit of the American people and not the donor and elite class.
Yeah, and that's a legitimate concern. But okay, so let's look at some of these potential reasons. Let's allow ourselves to go into the world of speculation, right? So one reason, this was alluded to by Jesse Kelly, I think in a post that he did earlier today. Let's say, for example, that through some sort of doctoring in the very recent past, the Democrats or Comey or those guys added Trump's name to the file. So his name has now been inserted into the file. It wasn't in the file before, but it's in there now. So Trump could then say, all right, I'm going to release the file, and then I'm going to have to give explanations of what happened, and we're going to have to figure out who added it and when. And Trump goes, I don't want to deal with it. That's scenario number one. Let's go to scenario number two. And that is that the whole situation with all these names is not a specific list. It's not like Epstein had a Rolodex but rather that you've got all these people who are associated with Epstein, maybe even went to Epstein's island, but there is a menagerie of consent decrees, court orders, confidentiality agreements, attorney-client privilege, all this nest of constraints. And so as a result, it's a viper's nest to try to cut through that and just release these names. Option number three, Alan Dershowitz says that I have seen the list, or I know who's on the list, but Alan Dershowitz also says that there are false names on the list, including his, that people like Virginia Giuffre named him and he didn't do anything. And so there's a Me Too-ism going on here where people's names are on the list who might be being falsely accused. And so Trump goes, listen, I may have a kind of random list, but I'm not going to just release the list where it's got guilty and not guilty people mixed in together and let the American people sort it out. So what I'm getting at is I don't know which, I'm not saying it's A or B or C. I'm simply saying that I think in a situation like this, there is a judgment call to be made at the end of the day. And I suppose there is a question of whether or not we trust Trump to make that judgment or not.
And I'm assuming you do.
I do. Yeah, I do. And I also do, not only because I make a character assessment of Trump as a great guy. It's not anything like that. I say to myself, the country hangs in the balance, right? We are basically fighting in a vicious battle against people who would destroy us and destroy the country. American politics is fought in teams. I think there is some element of truth to what Trump is saying when he says that there are multiple issues in front of us that require MAGA attention and MAGA involvement. Things like, for example, pressuring the Senate to do something about the Biden auto pen scandal. That would be one example. Recently, of course, the focus on the rescissions package to make sure that we have the appropriate votes, dealing with these runaway judges. So a little bit of the prudential aspect of politics is to say, hey, listen, is this the time where we want to, because of our legitimate demand for transparency, are we willing to not only weaken our own side by creating an internal fracas, but we're going to give a lifeline to the never Trumpers and the Democrats? These are people like thrashing around in the water. They finally see a long stick, and the stick is called the Epstein case. And we go, no problem. We're going to pull you to the shore and give you all this new political energy because of this issue. So in a sense, we are now uniting with the Democrats against Trump. And I say to myself, how can that be good for our side?
Listen, and I'm married, so I completely understand. Sometimes you got to just let things slide. Sometimes it's not about being right. Sometimes it's about peace. It's about harmony. There are other aspects to human communication outside of spurgs on the internet who just demand that everything's done for them, but they offer nothing to the country, nothing to the movement. I totally understand that there's that to consider. But I do bring up what you just mentioned. We trust Trump with Iran. We trust Trump maybe with this as well. look, with Operation Warp Speed and what we saw during the lockdowns and the way he didn't stand up to Fauci, the way he continued to triple down, quadruple down on the injections, calling it the greatest, accomplishment possibly in all of history is what I heard him say, of any president ever. Maybe he's right. Maybe we are all hallucinating and we think this is a bad thing, that these injections were harmful, except for my family. Personally, anecdotally, were very much harmed by them. Several of them were. And I had a friend who died as a result. So going forward, though, to Iran, it's like, we hear Tulsi Gabbard, DNI intelligence saying, in fact, that, Iran is not anywhere near these weapons of mass destruction. And then all of a sudden, when Netanyahu comes and he wants to attack Iran, suddenly they are near this, expulsionary process to push these nukes into the West. We even have Ted Cruz, people talking about bombing New York, and then we find out their ICBMs couldn't reach New York. And you kind of find that maybe, you still have some of the same people involved from Iraq on. You have this, bad elitist people, but also I bring up the question, which you just debated. A lot of people say he's protecting our greatest ally. He's protecting Israel, that the connections of, Ehud and Mossad and the past prime minister and intelligence makes this too tricky to our relations. And in fact, he's not withholding the files for the American people. He's withholding them to protect his donor class, particularly, and those that, lobby the government, AIPAC, and the Israeli government. Do you think there's any truth to that? Or do you think that there's a lot of people who feel that in the MAGA base who are not anti-Semitic or not anti-Israel, but they see the connection, including, we saw it with Tucker, even Megyn Kelly?
Yeah, I think here we're dealing with some separate issues that need to be disentangled a little bit. First of all, with regard to the COVID issue, I think that the real kind of crime of COVID was the release of the virus, right? The virus killed a lot of people and generated a worldwide calamity that did have to be dealt with. I think Trump felt under the circumstances he was doing speedily the very best that he could. I think he felt also that some of the MAGA people were wrongly focusing on the vaccine as the problem, whereas it was actually the release of the virus that was the more serious problem. Now, admittedly, the vaccine was oversold. It's you're not going to get COVID. You can't transmit COVID. All of that coming out of Rochelle Walensky was false. They should have sold the vaccine on a much more modest, hey, listen, this is a vaccine. It might lessen the severity of COVID, but it's untested. We haven't been able to study it enough. And yes, you're free to take it or not to take it. They didn't do that. And so I think that Trump did learn some things from Trump 1. We can see quite clearly that Trump in the last 6 months has been a Trump unlike any Trump we've seen before. He, in the first term, was very deferential to people, not just Fauci, but people like John Kelly. I think Trump came in and he thought, hey, listen, a general is a great guy. Generals are trained to do what you tell them to do. So if I get John Kelly and I tell him to do X, he's going to do X. And the idea that this guy would stab him in the back did not occur to Trump in the first term. But he's wise to all that stuff now. Now, with regard to Iran and the nukes, I think that there's been a pretty consistent thread with Trump in saying Iran should not be allowed to have a nuke. If Trump had never said that before and suddenly came to that position, then you could say that somebody is talking him into it, cajoling him, strong-arming him in some way. I think Trump is sometimes thought to be something different than he is. There are people who want the U.S. not to get involved in any of this foreign adventurism at all. But I think Trump's view has always been a repudiation of Bush, but not a repudiation of Reagan. Reagan was willing to do a strike on Libya. Trump was willing to do a strike on Soleimani. Trump is not averse to the idea that the world is a bad place. There are people who think we are the great Satan. If they are aspiring to these dangerous weapons, and let's say we are not sure, are they at 60% there? Are they 90% there? Are they 99% there? Who cares if we can send 2 B-2s overnight and wipe out their facilities and cripple them for, let's say, a dozen years? How can that possibly be a bad thing? So on that particular issue, I agree with Trump.
So, but in connection directly to the question of who is Trump representing, I think that's what you brought up earlier. It's like, the question in mind then with this Israel, suggestion is there's overwhelming evidence in my personal experience that Epstein is related to somewhat Israeli intelligence. I doesn't mean he's not related to American intelligence. It seems like something's happening. And when they say, well, there's no list, I didn't promise a list, there's files. You go, okay, young girls are being raped, and we've been told that there's tons of videos of this, and no one wants the videos released of the girls being raped. Okay, that's not what we're asking for. But who was raping the girls? If there are gigabytes and gigabytes of low resolution cameras that do not take massive amounts of data, especially during years when they weren't filming in 4K, then who was raping the girls? Can you not release images of the women blurred or completely blacked out and show the faces of the people? We all know there's more that can be done. But the question is, just like we're seeing Diddy get off on a lot of these charges with massive accusations, we see Comey's daughter intertwined. We know there's some Democrat meddling. We know that he's accurate. But why wouldn't he just come out and say, listen, I want to be clear to you guys. A, Israel's not involved. This has nothing to do with Mossad. That is a conspiracy theory. Here's the evidence. B, C, and explain to us why we're wrong. Instead, we get cajoled and spoken down to that we're stupid, we're not real MAGA, we're not as base. And I take offense to that, considering my producer who's sitting here was facing 5 years in prison for defending him on January 6th. I myself have been under investigation and had all my files taken and my bank records lifted and phones tapped and, by the FBI for wiretapping for documenting January 6th. It's like, oh, don't tell me when we were going to lose our freedom for you and we're willing to do it that we're not supporting you. Why would he not just clarify and provide the evidence instead of reprimanding us like we're some sort of idiots?
Yeah, I won't defend that. I will just say this, that Elijah, here's the thing, you and I have been around in politics a while, and what we get with Trump is a very unique kind of personality, right? He is a comedian of almost unrivaled timing and effectiveness, but he is also a belligerent. And by that, I mean, he goes further, not just than any politician or any president, but he goes pretty much further than anyone on social media in the way that he derides people, he attacks people, and especially if his pride is wounded. Trump is in this respect, just as a personality, just as a character, he's very different than Reagan. But here's the point is that we all know this. Knowing all this, we signed on with this guy, right? We basically said that his package of qualities in this particular environment is exactly what the country needs. That the kind of Reaganite decorum is not what we're signing up for. We are kind of in a combat environment, and this guy is essentially General Grant. And now what you're saying is, oh my gosh, he's going off on these alcoholic rants. Oh my gosh, he's setting fire to things. He's yelling at his own troops. Well, you signed up for General Grant. I'm sorry to tell you. So I kind of take Trump for what he is, right? And I ask myself this question: what is irritating Trump about this so much? And I think what's irritating Trump so much is that even though you're right, the January 6 guys went to jail, I was in a confinement center, many of us have kind of put ourselves to some degree on the line, but I think Trump thinks, listen, I put myself on the line unlike anybody else. I mean, I was facing 90 plus charges, a lifetime in prison. These people would have destroyed me. They tried to assassinate me. So hasn't this earned me at least a modicum of respect where people can say, all right, I'm going to give this guy a little bit of rope because he has put it all on the line. He's not doing this because he is being manipulated by Netanyahu. I mean, it's the idea that a country of 10 million people can manipulate a country of 350 million people. It makes no sense. And I think Trump is just offended by the suggestion that he's somehow a pawn of somebody. It's like the elephant being a pawn of the mosquito.
Well, I know they're not talking about Israel, so I'm not going to go too far into it, but I don't think it's ridiculous. And I think sometimes, especially my generation, understands, the way that so many people are lackadaisical and are apathetic to the political world. They care, but not even enough to vote, right? Some people don't even go out and vote. And we know there's even anomalies, there's issues in our voting system. And also, like, you go down, you go, well, how could they have so much effect? I'll tell you just one example. Well, AIPAC doesn't need to control every election. They may not have the power to do that, but they can strategically ensure during our primaries that both candidates from the Republican or the Democratic parties are at least friendly to Israel or Zionists, as we saw with Brandon Herrera, AIPAC putting in over $1 million in a very small and niche Texas district to ensure that he wasn't even against Israel, and he's a veteran, saying, hey, I just am not for the wars of Israel. I don't want to defend this. They outspent him and primaried him in his own district. We've seen this continually. Even now, we see a little bit going on with Massey, although I don't want to go down that road. So I think that Israel being strategic, no one says Jewish people are unintelligent. And I think with enough power together over enough decades, there is the ability for an individual, because it's not just 10 million people in a nation. Remember, they have millions of people in our country in the highest echelons, the most influential markets, and the most powerful industries. So if you pair that nation with the influence they have internally, this Fabian class, this class, you could perhaps with dual allegiance not control the whole nation, but you could control aspects of it, things that are beginning to irritate the American public. And I think that's why many people, because of the war going on in Gaza, paired with what people still want to know about 9/11, now with Iran, they start to wonder. And I think most people believe that his number one reason he's doing this is to protect Israeli assets. But I think people are now questioning if it's a bigger issue simply because now he's just, he's calling us names because we want to know. And I think that's the most confusion. And I actually wouldn't disrespect him if he said, listen, for the sake of international peace, politics, and foreign policy, we cannot release this because it'll compromise larger international goals that we have. Unfortunately, we're sorry for the victims, but we have to move on if we want to have global dominance. People die, people get raped in war, and this is a war. I may not like it, but hey, at least be honest. I kind of want to end here. I disagree on the Israel issue, but why wouldn't he just be honest? Why can't he just tell us why?
Look, I'm not saying that he shouldn't. I think he should. Trump is Trump. Look, you remember, Elijah, go back to 2016. Trump is a guy who has blasted Bannon. He's blasted, I think he called Glenn Beck dumb as a rock. This is not Trump acting in a new register or a new key. Trump, when he feels that people are going against him, including his own side, he's very capable of lashing out. This is entirely to that degree in character. I just don't think we should pretend to be like surprised by it or even take offense, because this is Trump's personality. Okay. Now, with regard to the issue of Israel, I'll just make a very brief thought, and that is, look, the Jews are what, maybe 25 million in the world. The Muslims are 2.5 billion people. Not only that, but countries like Qatar are sitting on essentially a bottomless ocean of resources, oil and money. And you can't say that they aren't buying giant amounts of influence. In fact, if AIPAC was so powerful, why couldn't they keep the Democratic Party in line? Qatar has basically bought off a large chunk of the Democratic Party. People like Ilhan Omar and so on, who were once on the very margins of the party, are now front and center. And some of the Jewish congressmen in the Democratic Party have to run for cover because suddenly the jihadis are more in control. So all I'm saying, I'm not denying that there's foreign influence. I'm just saying there's foreign influence coming from different directions. And there's also domestic influence. I mean, if you're saying Israel can buy off congressmen, what about the pharmaceutical industry? What about the food industry? What about the construction and real estate industries? So what I'm getting at is we have a bad system that incentivizes our politicians to take money from lobbyists instead of the $50 and $100 checks that they get from their own district. This is not really a corruption of the Jews. It's a corruption of our system.
Right, but I mean, in retrospect to just this one issue, I actually agree with you. And you might even find a lot of Jewish people maybe even leading some of these industries in the food sector and the pharmaceutical sector. That doesn't mean that they're connected then to a Jewish lobby that's influencing foreign policy. And I'm not making that claim, right? It's not inherently because you're Jewish, you have dual allegiance, but many suggest that. But I do think that there is an allegiance that Jewish people have to their homeland, to their country. But when we're talking about this issue, I'm not talking about dual citizen Jews that run, Moderna or whatever out there. I'm talking about particularly the fact that this was a blackmail ring, and I'm under the impression too, at the level that we are doubling down on this and now calling it a hoax, it makes me continue to, and I'm not alone on this. I'm not uneducated. I don't think Tucker's uneducated. I don't think Megyn Kelly's uneducated. I think a lot of people who I'm even surprised about, including it was Charlie, although he just jumped ship, were going, dude, this is too suspicious. Matt Walsh, one of them as well, who is in a pro-Zionist network. These are not anti-Israel. These are not anti-Jewish individuals going, something is wrong, and it might be, maybe it's what everyone said. They're blackmailed. And to be quite honest, if I was caught raping a child as well on camera, I'd be pretty damn vehement to make sure that there's nothing released. And I might say, I'm so loyal to the boys, maybe if I was a little more corrupt than I am now, had a little more to lose, or maybe I was threatened to be killed. If they threatened to kill my kids, I might also, not really willing to sacrifice the blood of my own children to just put a couple criminals behind iron bars. I get it. We're human beings. But I want to end with this, Dinesh. I cannot get behind, personally, whether we disagree on why, because we don't know. We are conjecturing based upon the evidence we see. And you're not even dismissive that it could be Israeli blackmail. You're not even saying that could be one of the reasons. Who knows? The issue is like, the only reason I see to drop this and to get behind Trump is not to be America first. It's not to make America great again. It's to ensure my place as a lobbyist with the GOP, or my place to run for politics, or my place to continue to tap into the GOP donor class, since Laura Trump is now running the RNC. I don't see it to be beneficial to my people, to the constituency of this country, and to the real right wing, to the nationalist class of people who want life, liberty, the pursuit of happiness to return, including your own, son-in-law, who's fantastic, by the way, really crushing it out there. I'm very, very proud of him. I just don't see anybody falling in line unless, like the blackmail ring, get in line or you're out of the club. What's your final thoughts?
Yeah, when I first made the comment about Epstein, and I did use the phrase move on, what I didn't mean that there's nothing here or it's not a scandal. I don't believe Epstein killed himself. And obviously he ran a ring where he drew in all these very powerful people. Now, was he running a prostitution, ring, collecting money? I don't know about that. But it is clear that he was running an influence ring. And so, yes, there is information there that I want to know. I think that something terrible occurred, and I think people should be held accountable. And you cannot have all these women who were abused without someone who was abusing them. There's really no disagreement about any of that. I think that the issue is really, at this point, somewhat different. And that is, what is the information that we can reasonably expect to be released? Are we willing on this issue to sort of break with Trump? Are we willing to give up the gains of MAGA and basically bring the MAGA transformation to a grinding halt? Because essentially we've reached a point of no negotiation or no return with Trump. In other words, are we essentially saying that this issue is so important to us that we would let the country go off the precipice with us and with Trump in it because we're not getting our way in it? And I understand the passion behind it, but it seems to me that is a suicidally foolish course of action. And I don't have any dog in the fight. My reputation was built long before Trump. I'm not sidling up to Trump. You won't see me hanging around Mar-a-Lago. I don't seek any appointments. I haven't gotten any phone calls. I'm just calling it based upon really a lifetime of having watched American politics, and sometimes recognizing that even if there are legitimate demands that are made by a populist movement, you're going to have a leader, be it a Reagan or be it a Trump, who's not going to meet them.
You know what? And I do understand your position. And I want to say to you, I really appreciate you coming on and having this discussion because, like you said, I know that you don't owe anything to Trump. And I believe that because today we seem to have been in this position where the right wing disagrees. And for some reason, people will only talk to people who agree with them on a key or two issues, and they won't have discussions because it's like, I won't associate with that person, or I won't talk with that person. And I know you have spoken to some, I think you spoke to Fuentes. You had a debate there, more like a conversation. Things that many people, even younger than you, that claim to be more overtly politically have more prowess than you, are afraid to do because they're going to lose money or lose an invite. And I think, I salute you and I appreciate your boldness and your ability to engage with people, even when you disagree, even when you don't have all the answers. I think, you're a testimony to what the American values of free discourse and a political banter really, really were meant for in this nation. As an imperfect man myself, I know you're not perfect. I know you haven't gotten it all right in life, and you never will. But for the most part, I just want to say to the audience, if you want to check out Dinesh, he does make some incredible films. Whether you agree with him in this conversation or you disagree with him, he's done amazing work, especially with election integrity. A lot going on with past presidential primaries and what was going on in the elections in general, things going on with Hillary. And Dinesh, you're also an author of several books. If people want to keep up with you and they want to track with you on social media, buy your books, what's the best place that they can connect?
Well, check out my daily podcast, the Dinesh D'Souza podcast. I do it audio and video. So it's on Google and Spotify in audio, and it's on YouTube and Rumble, and also on X.
Amazing. Dinesh, thank you so much for coming on. I really appreciate it.
Always a pleasure.
Thank you. The rest of you guys watching, if you're watching right now, you would know that I'm not on the rest of the show tonight because I'm not lying, I'm at my house cooking steak and with the boys. Now, I literally had to take a night off tonight to watch my kids so my wife could go out. But of course, the boys will never take a night off without cooking a nice steak. So I appreciate you guys supporting the show, and for that steak, Homer J. Fuentes, for buying it for me. I really do appreciate it. Anyway, shout out to my guest, Dinesh. Let's get back to the show.
Muted. There we go. All right. Well, I think I can really applaud Dinesh D'Souza and his ability to be, or his willingness to sit down with people that, may be on the outskirts of the mainstream media to have these discussions. And so I do applaud him for that, but we do need to switch topics really quickly because this is breaking news. This is much more important than the Epstein files. You guys don't understand. Look at what we have here. Donald Trump just announced, we go to my screen. I've been speaking to Coca-Cola about using real cane sugar in Coke in the United States, and they've agreed to do so. This is what matters. This is what we voted for.
I got what I voted for award.
This is the I got what I voted for award.
I voted for this.
But in actuality, before we continue on with our thoughts on the interview, a quick shout out to Red Pill Threads. I just pulled up their screen here. They make some amazing shirts, and I actually know the owner personally. He is a wonderful guy. He donates a portion of his proceeds to a different charity every single month. And so if you want to get some funny shirts, some cool stuff, and support them, you can go to redpillthreads.com and use the code RIFT, I believe, for 10% off. We got a couple other things right here. I personally have the Dead Pedos Don't Reoffend shirt. That's a personal favorite, as well as I know Elijah has this one. So quick shout out to them. Let's go back to the interview with Dinesh. We have some breaking news in the Epstein case.
We do. So this is actually a really interesting one. I want to go over to this right here about Thomas Massie and Ro Khanna. Thomas Massie and Ro Khanna have jointly introduced a bipartisan bill mandating Attorney General Pam Bondi to release the Epstein files within 30 days. Okay, I'm actually not surprised by this at all because obviously they just had that bill that they voted on where Ro Khanna was behind it. And, obviously I don't think that like the left, the Democrats woke up one day and started to care about child trafficking. But what I will say is regardless of their intentions, it is something that we can see, people get behind, meaning Massie, Ro Khanna, and whoever else. So this is actually, I think, really important because this is the only opposition we're really seeing, any real opposition
Isn't
to it.
that kind of interesting that Massey's the only Republican
right.
who is wanting to release the Epstein files, and he also happens to be the only Republican not taking money from AIPAC. Isn't that crazy?
Or have an AIPAC handler.
Wow.
Which apparently everybody in Congress has, according to
What
him.
a coincidence, guys.
That's
I'm sure
crazy.
it's a coincidence.
Yeah.
Right.
It's all just speculation. Nothing's actually been proved. But Lauren, I want to ask your thoughts on this interview with Dinesh. Like, what did you? Is he fully aware of what he's doing? Is he running cover? Do you think he just doesn't have all the information and he's just trying to make that evidently clear? What's your thoughts?
So their job as MAGA influencers is to back up and have President Trump's back no matter what. And that's what basically we heard was, well, we elected him to do that. It's kind of devolved. Each argument has devolved. Like, and this is where we're at right now, where it's, well, we're not a real democracy where everybody gets to make the decision. We elected President Trump. He has all the information. We don't have it. We have, we don't get intel committees or whatever. And apparently President Trump does. And that's why we have to trust him in his decision, which would be, and I would have trusted his decision had he not done it in the way he had. It was his presentation that made me, I was like, whoa, he is on that list. Like, it made me feel like that, the way, had he done it, and it was that simple. So we don't know who exactly is influencing Trump's decision behind, closing the case, but we do know who is influencing his media takes to it, like his messaging, because that's Zionist messaging all over the place. The Zionists are like, yeah, just say this, just say forget about it. People that are completely out of touch with his base are part of the donor class but want to make this go away. And they're stupid enough to tell him, hey, this is, just call him stupid, Candace Owens, I think, posted something. It was funny. It was like, Trump's like 1 week away from calling us a basket of deplorables. Like, that's, if he keeps insulting us, like, good Lord. And that's how we know that Zionists are writing the messaging, and people like Susie Wiles, which is his chief of staff. And if anybody knows Susie Wiles, they know that she runs the show. So she runs Trump's show. She's the one making these decisions and these calls, the hiring, everything like that.
Wasn't she a never Trumper before?
Yeah, so she, I think she ran like a big part of the Republican Party in Florida for years, but she got in with Trump, and she has played as a major gatekeeper against like some of the most America First advocates. She keeps them far away. She tried to, I think Laura Loomer for a while too. And she just, she's a gatekeeper. That's what she does.
It is interesting because one of the questions that Dinesh asked, and I saw this in a clip as well as what he asked Elijah, was, oh, well, maybe, we don't have all, like you said, we don't have all the answers. How can we really know for sure what he's got? Like, put yourself in his shoes. But we can. And I think a lot of us are seeing that and going, okay, I can put myself in Trump's shoes. And unless I or someone that I am friends with or is part of my cabinet is implicated in any way, shape, or form, I would be perfectly content releasing this. And even if people in my cabinet were implicated in this, this was a campaign promise. And so as much as I could sit here and go, oh, well, Americans are dumb and we can sort of take advantage of the working class because that's what the Uniparty has done for decades, if we're being honest. It really is disingenuous. And I think a lot of people are rightly calling it out. And so while I applaud, obviously, what Dinesh is doing by sitting down and having these discussions with people, I find it hard when you're asking these hypothetical questions as if the answer is not almost right in front of your face.
Yeah, kind of back to what you're saying about Susie Wiles, though, it is interesting how so many of these, people that are telling us you have to support Trump and be a Trump loyalist, no matter what he does, they were not Trump loyalists. The majority of these people supported DeSantis. Yeah. Yep. Like all of these people, all the Babylon Bee people and the Daily Wire people, Ben Shapiro, all of these people supported DeSantis. Like I haven't been in politics for that long. I'm only 21, but I still remember, I can remember about a year ago. I can remember the primaries, right? And I can remember who these people were supporting just this election, not even talking about, 2015 when Trump was running in the first primary and all of these people absolutely hated him. Everyone at Fox News hated Trump. I remember that, and I was like 13. I remember watching Fox News and just assuming from the TV that everyone in the country, both left and right, hated Trump, because that's exactly what it was. So it's all the people that hated Trump for what he stood for are now telling us that we have to support everything he does when he's not doing what he stood for. And that kind of goes to show what he's doing now is totally wrong. And Trump himself is being a never Trumper in the way that he's not being America first, right? So
no, you're right. Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna. Well, what we're witnessing, what you just described, is a bait and switch, basically. Because in 2016, he was a completely different candidate. He was a completely different person, and more so than being a completely different person is he's got a new boss, and that's Netanyahu. He's got other people to answer to that he didn't have in 2016. And he did to some degree. Like, he had some people that he was answering to, let's be honest. No one's really totally uncontrolled in American politics. But now it's worse than ever. And, you know, previously, he never would have worked with somebody like Susie Wiles. The old Trump never would have done that.
Previously, he never would have taken money from Miriam Adelson, and
Exactly.
he made fun of Marco Rubio for doing that. And
Right.
we all know what he was dog whistling there when he made fun of him for that.
Exactly. So, and he used to say, like, actually kind of radical things that people in the mainstream didn't say. Like, I think he was the first president to actually say that 9/11 was an inside job. He was the first person to start questioning those things. I remember, like, looking for that clip years later after he said it and having a hard time finding it. And it's like they want to erase this version of him almost. They want to make you think it never existed, or I guess in the MAGA movement on the inside, they want to make you think he's the same guy.
Yeah.
So it is interesting. I think it's just total bait and switch. And the real Trump, or that we used to like, that we voted for in 2016, is out to lunch. Just completely not there. So.
Yeah, it is really disappointing. I do have, I guess, what you would call good news, because we were talking about this. It just released like an hour or two ago. If you want to pull up my screen, Mike, when it comes to Epstein, and this is actually real, the DOJ apparently fired Maureen Comey, who was the prosecutor for the Diddy and the Epstein case. She's also James Comey's daughter, and all of a sudden she's gone. And so I kind of want to get what do you think about that? Is there maybe something? Is this to just kind of give us a bone and hope that we go away with the Epstein stuff? Or because it was really odd that someone who used to be, very high up in the FBI, his daughter was all of a sudden working these high profile cases. What's up with that?
Well, I actually think that it is kind of like just throwing us a bone. I think there's a lot of blame here that is kind of misplaced, and that people are not, like, they kind of want to make it confusing for the American people, they meaning the Trump admin, because they want to give you a hard time when it comes to saying, okay, well, who can I blame this on? I mean, ultimately, it's the guy we voted for. It's Trump. If he really wanted to, he could fix this problem. We don't need to fire anyone. We don't need to move around any chess pieces. He could fix it. And I mean, I guess if you want to be excited about that, you can be, but ultimately I don't think that's the solution.
Yeah, no, I think they're either the Zionists want her gone, or it's, and they made the call and they were like, okay, well, maybe she might be a problem. I don't know, but
I don't know enough about her.
I can't believe
so
that. I don't know anything about her. So
Well, she was a high level prosecutor on both the Diddy and the Epstein case, the daughter of James Comey. So it's obviously, maybe a little bit of a DEI. She got in because she's the daughter of Comey. And then all of a sudden she gets fired, which was really odd, because we were talking about it a few shows ago with Elijah. He said, isn't it interesting how someone who was so high up in this kind of corrupt government system, that they're also, connected to the people who are dealing with these cases. And so it seems like either they're going to bring someone in who actually does something, or they're going to bring in someone who is even more pro-Zionist, even more pro-AIPAC, pro-Israel, and we're going to get this all over again, but even worse. And I know you were talking about how, Trump is the president, he could do it. He just went on video like yesterday or today where he's saying, what's the clip? I have it right here. He said, when asked if he would appoint a special counsel to look into Epstein, Trump said, I have nothing to do with it. Like, that was his excuse. Look.
Like, really? You're the president of the United States.
Yeah, it's absurd.
No, I like I said, I would have believed him. I would have believed him had he done it and addressed it a certain way. Like, if I would have believed him, if he laid out and was transparent about it and be like, hey guys, listen, we've been investigating this. Turns out this person, it was a Democratic hoax all along. But it was the way he did it. Like, I don't believe him. I don't know what to think. I just know that he is not serving our interests, and that there is a pedophile cabal of that holds our elected officials accountable with blackmail, and they make them vote on legislation or make things go away because they have blackmail on them. And it's a part of a foreign intelligence for a foreign country that has occupied my nation. My country is not America anymore. Like, people call it Zog. It is Zog. Like, we live in Zog, and there's nothing we can do about him. We talk about Thomas Massey. He's the one guy who isn't bought and paid for, and Trump goes after him. And it's crazy. And I wouldn't be surprised if they found a way to oust him. They stole the 2020 election. They can manipulate elections.
Well, his wife died. His wife, like, remember that? His wife died perfectly healthy, and all of a sudden, oh, Massey's wife is dead. The only guy who opposed.
Didn't she have cancer?
As far as I was aware, no. And if she did, someone could let me know. But as far as I was aware, she was pretty healthy, and it came out of the
she
blue.
had cancer, and he said that.
I heard she fell off a ladder.
What?
That was I heard that it
she
was a
fell
bit of a
off ladder.
shock death.
Yeah,
Look up.
That's what I heard. I heard
So.
And they just taken pictures the week before, like family photos and stuff like that. Like they were on vacation. Like if she had cancer, she wasn't close to death's door on it. She still had all her hair, and she wasn't going through treatment or anything. But it was a shock, and that was bizarre. And he never did tell us how she died. And he's been on a rampage against AIPAC ever since. So I don't know. It could be.
Well, he made the one comment, and then she died, and then he went on a rampage. And I'm not claiming anything. Not like gonna get the show labeled or whatever. But it is an interesting timeline for those events to occur.
Right.
Is all that I'll point out.
Yeah.
Well, what I will say, and I kind of mentioned this already, is that it is interesting that the left Democrats are acting like they suddenly care about the Epstein files. And obviously they're using it for political purposes. They want to make Trump look bad. But I did want to go ahead and play this clip of Pramila Jayapal talking about this very idea. Well, she was answering to a host on CNN because she was asked why she didn't bring up the Epstein files issue earlier under Biden, which is like a fair question. She said she was busy. So I want to go ahead and show this clip.
This. Why didn't you raise it during the Biden administration? I mean, we couldn't find that you made any public comments about Epstein in previous administrations.
Well, I would have been happy to raise it then as well. Frankly, we were focused on so many different pieces, but I have been one of the Democrats that has been consistent on what I call out Republican presidents for and Democratic presidents for, whether it is FISA, reforms that we need, whatever it has been. I've been pretty consistent. War powers. I've criticized Joe Biden just as I'm criticizing Donald Trump. I think transparency is not something that should happen only when you have a Republican president. It is something that we need for both Democratic and Republican presidents.
So then why didn't you call for more transparency earlier during the Biden administration? I'm just trying to better understand why you are so intent now on calling for this.
Well, I think I gave it the same focus that I'm giving it now. We haven't, I think I've released one tweet on this, and you wanted to talk about it, so I'm happy to talk about it here, but it certainly hasn't been the focus. I'm just responding to what I think is a massive switch from the Trump administration around this issue. My focus has been on the big bad betrayal bill, and I will continue to focus on that. But yes, I think that this information should have been released under the Biden administration. It should be released under the Trump administration.
Sometimes I forget that Democrats exist because we spend so much time infighting and talking about the Trump administration. I forget how much they suck.
Yeah.
And then you watch something like that and you're like, oh my gosh, these people are so stupid and evil.
The big bad betrayal bill.
Yeah,
it's like, oh my gosh, it's insufferable.
Drumpf destroyed.
Right. Well, also, it was kind of a weird question to ask, too, because, Biden didn't close the case like Trump did. Of course, that's why they're calling for I don't know.
Biden didn't promise, it just wasn't talked about. They didn't promise.
Yeah, he didn't make any promises or anything.
Yeah, that is true, but I do think that if you cared a lot about child trafficking, you would have raised the alarm on it.
That's true.
Because right now they're saying well, we have to expose it. We have to protect these children. It's okay, since when do you guys care about protecting children? You know,
they have an opportunity now that they didn't have before.
So it's just
Well, and also the reason why the Trump administration promised is because his base cares about it.
Yes.
Because we are oh, Trump's getting in power. Trump's against the system. Please release the Epstein files. And so he was yeah, let's do it.
Right.
So that's why. And Democrats don't care enough about it to pressure their own politicians to do so.
But suddenly they do now when the pressure is on Trump.
Yeah.
So, and that's the thing. It's just pure politics at the end of the day. And I don't think that there's really any party that does care. The one side is just, obviously trying to protect Trump and trying to protect Israel. And then the other side is just trying to use it for political purposes. So I really think those are the only two sides we're dealing with here. Very few people, other than maybe Massey really care about.
Someone, the Virgo on Fire said, "Why are women taking over this show?
I know,
Every day there's more women.
They're
That's
multiplying,
kinda true. It
dude.
was like
Help.
1, 2, 3. There's three of us.
Somebody help.
Elijah. This is the funny part. Elijah never wanted to work with women again, and now he's surrounding himself with them. Well, guess what,
Well, he's
guys?
not here.
Elijah isn't here, so
Yeah.
he's not surrounding himself with women. Braeden is.
No, he's surrounding me with women. This is against my will.
But don't worry. This is a one-time thing. This is just, it's a what do you call it? Gynocracy in the office right now.
Oh, good word.
Yes, and but it's a one-time thing. I don't think it's going to be like this every episode, but hopefully you guys still like it.
Also, Toasty Coconut says we don't listen to people with Star Wars names, which I would agree with. Vivek Ramaswamy, no.
Ro Khanna.
Ro Khanna, no. Emperor
Definitely
Palpatine,
not.
no. So
What's
I
his
completely
name?
agree with that.
Yeah.
Mom Donnie.
Mom Donnie, yeah.
Zoran.
Yeah.
Zoran.
Zoran.
That's like a Star Trek name.
Yeah,
That's
no, seriously.
crazy.
Yeah.
Well, on that note, I think we are going to go ahead and move over to locals then, because we have more of the show for you guys. But
And that's where we're going to talk about the super juicy gossip.
Yeah.
Wait,
Like
I
the
wanted
sexy
to
AI.
real quick address the Trump and his base and they care about.
Yeah.
So, okay, a little quick story. Do I have like 30 seconds? to
Yeah,
tell the story?
of course.
So I ran for Senate in 2020. So during that time, it was really big around the QAnon movement was huge then. Like it was just really big. And I like wore a Q shirt like when in 2018 or whatever, and I was getting grilled about it. And it was interesting because President Trump also was getting grilled about QAnon too. And the RNC and Trump were trying to figure out how to address this base that was so massive that loved President Trump, but they believe in the pedophile cabal, like the Epstein rings and all this stuff, and they didn't know how to address it. And it was interesting because I was asked about it during a debate. And I had said, I was like, I don't know exactly everything they believe, but I know that they are extremely against pedophilia. Like the QAnon base, they are very against pedophilia. Well, they took that clip from that debate, it like went on the internet, and I had solicited the RNC for their endorsement. So I had like reached out to them. I was trying to get them to endorse me. Of course, they didn't. But during it, they said, we thank you for meeting with us or whatever. But they said, we really liked your response about QAnon and how they are against pedophilia. Trump started actually using that messaging later in his interviews, which tells me that, yes, they love him and they care about him so much, but he has no clue who his base is. Like, it's very weird that they really didn't know how to address the QAnon issue. They didn't want to disavow him because they're so massive, but they didn't know enough about him to come up with the messaging about, like, these guys are really against pedophilia. Like, it's just very weird how out of touch he is he's a completely different person.
I saw a tweet this week. Someone said they thought that Trump was just secretly kind of dumb.
Think?
I think he's a New York liberal.
And like I don't mean that like he's obviously not dumb like he's
Nah,
a
he's not
billionaire.
dumb.
I don't mean dumb in that way, but dumb as in
Socially?
he's a little bit out of touch with like what your average he would be out of touch. He's like I said, a billionaire. So maybe he's just kind of out of touch with the way we think and thinks, you know what, they don't really know what's going on with the Epstein files. I know something they don't. These people, whatever. And he doesn't realize like how important it is to people because he's not really on the ground talking to them as much as he's in the White House and playing golf.
And the
exactly. He has all these people in his ear,
Yeah.
and he doesn't really realize what your average person thinks.
Yeah, I think there's definitely truth to that. The only thing is, like, I'm really tired of making excuses for him about his advisors and the people around him.
That's
It's
true.
like, at what point do you just replace them with people who will inform you? Because that's totally acceptable to, like, not really be able to have time to keep on top of everything your base is interested in. That's why you have advisors that keep in touch with that. But he keeps surrounding himself with people who have ulterior motives, who don't have his best interest in mind, who don't have America's best interest in mind. And that's the real problem. It's not whether he's invested in, on knowing what's going on constantly. That's not really his job because he can't do that with everything else he has to do. He just has bad advisors, and that gets blamed on him because he should at least be aware that he keeps making the mistake of surrounding himself by these snakes.
Yeah, pick better advisors.
Yeah.
That's the moral of the story. It almost gets tired talking about it, but obviously if we stop, then it stops getting covered, and so we kind of have to keep doing it, which is the unfortunate.
Well, just consider this. Does this change your mind?
Oh, I get it now.
Yeah.
Do we have any super chats? Because
Thoughts?
I don't have anything pulled up. Do you
God,
have
I
anything?
don't know. They haven't been giving us super chats.
Actually, by the way, we do have another one in locals. which I actually don't
Maybe
even
we
know
should head over there.
how to bring up the well. So this one was read, or I mean, it was sent before we went to local. So I'm trying to find it. If I miss it, then yeah, we'll read it in the local section.
Are we able to put the
I found
locals
it.
link in the chat?
Yeah,
so
we haven't
people can
switched over
join?
yet, right?
Yeah, so
Yeah.
it
Okay.
is ElijahSchaefer.locals.com. I did bring it up. Hold on, wait 1 second. If I just bring this up real quick, and then the caption. I guess this.
I'll put the link in the chat, guys.
Okay,
By the way,
cool.
my name it doesn't say on YouTube. It says my name. On Rumble, it's like Sarah1234. I don't even know. It's like Sarah1597. So.
Wait, I saw that. I was like, is that Sarah?
I
can't tell.
I was on Rumble trying to figure out how to like change that, and I don't know how to deal
Also,
with Rumble.
and then this is the one super chat that we got on locals. It says Braeden. No, doesn't look like Braeden. Like, by the way,
they didn't AI
that looks
Braeden.
like Nick. It looks like
yeah,
Nick,
I was
right?
gonna say that
that's
does
Nick
not look like
Fuentes.
Braeden.
What he's talking about.
Really good try though. My hand is blocking me. Thankfully, I couldn't make contact.
Anyway,
there was
It's
one
like a
super
nub.
chat.
It's not even
true.
a hand.
Yeah,
You have a nub.
Mike,
It's
I
like
did
backwards.
I had
Yeah.
one super chat that I managed to save a screenshot of. I can read.
Oh, go ahead. Yeah.
Zach gave $10 and said, "Make Sarah eat Blue Chews. Canadian Nazis will come back, guaranteed."
What does that even? I don't know what that is.
She doesn't know what a Blue Chew is, guys. I don't know what to
Well, I know
tell.
what a blue chew is, but like, what does that mean? Like, what
I
are
don't
they
even
trying
know
to-
what like that whole sentence
Is
means.
Blue Chew like the Vril of Canadians?
Yeah. I was
Also,
gonna say-
Canadian Nazis come back. Did they ever exist?
Yeah.
I don't think so. They just have
That
Tim
would be cool
Hortons
if
there
they did.
and Indians.
Didn't Trudeau like honor some like
It was like a
Ukrainian Nazi or
Ukrainian Nazi.
something?
It was someone
Yeah,
from
probably.
what's it called? The Azov
Yeah.
Yep.
battalion.
Was this when he was in full blackface, or
I don't know.
No.
What,
is that like
It was-
another
It was like
time?
Indian
what I
face
do
or
know,
something.
what I do
Brown
know
face.
is that Anna is going to send us to locals. So,
All right.
right.
Yes,
Right.
we are going to go to locals where you will find all of the gossipy topics. Just kidding. We're not talking about gossip. But we will go to locals and we will talk about other important things. So if you want to join us there, please do go to ElijahSchaefer.locals.com and follow us there. On that note, we will end the stream here on Rumble. So thank you so much for tuning in, guys, and we will be back tomorrow for another show.